Imagine a secret so powerful that it could transform not only metal into gold, but also the very essence of your being. A key to immortality, a path to enlightenment, a hidden force woven into the fabric of reality itself. For centuries, alchemists whispered of a legendary substance, the Philosopher's Stone. But what if everything you've been told about it is incomplete? What if the true meaning of this ancient mystery has been obscured not by secrecy, but by misunderstanding? The Philosopher's Stone is far more than a medieval myth. It is not merely the pursuit of turning lead into gold. That is only a metaphor, a veil drawn over the deeper truth, one that only the initiated have ever fully grasped. Beneath its surface lies a profound spiritual science, a process of transformation that goes beyond chemistry and into the very soul of existence. What if the real alchemy is not about external wealth but inner mastery? What if the secret to the Philosopher's Stone has been hidden in plain sight, encoded in ancient texts, whispered by mystics, and practiced by those who sought the ultimate liberation? In this video, we will unveil the true nature of the Philosopher's Stone. We will explore its origins, its deeper esoteric significance, and the alchemical process that leads to personal and spiritual transformation. And most importantly, we will reveal how you, yes, you, can embark on the same path that seekers, sages, and alchemists have walked for centuries. Are you ready to uncover what no one has told you about the Philosopher's Stone? Historical/philosophical context. The legend of the Philosopher's Stone stretches back through the corridors of time, hidden within the sacred teachings of ancient civilizations. To the untrained eye, it appears as mere mythology, a fantastical quest pursued by medieval alchemists obsessed with turning lead into gold. But those who look deeper see something far greater, a blueprint for spiritual transformation encoded in symbols, allegories, and forgotten wisdom. The alchemists and their hidden language. In the Middle Ages, alchemists across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia dedicated their lives to the search for this elusive substance. Names like Paracelsus, Nicholas Flamel, and Jabir ibn Hayyan became synonymous with alchemical mastery. Their texts were filled with cryptic diagrams, veiled instructions, and poetic descriptions that seemed to speak of literal chemistry, metals, furnaces, and elixirs. But alchemy has always been a double language. On the surface, it appears to be the study of material substances. Yet beneath that disguise, it is a deeply spiritual discipline. The true alchemists were not merely scientists. They were mystics, initiates in an ancient tradition that spanned Egyptian, Greek, and Persian philosophies. To them, the Philosopher's Stone was not just a substance. It was the final stage of a grand process known as the magnum opus, or the great work. And this process was not about external transmutation, but rather the internal refinement of the human soul. Ancient roots of the Philosopher's Stone. Long before medieval alchemy, the idea of spiritual transformation through purification existed in the esoteric traditions of ancient Egypt, India, and China. The Egyptian priests spoke of a hidden knowledge that granted immortality, recorded in the Emerald Tablet, a mystical text attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. The famous phrase, "as above, so below," as within, so without, originates from this very source, hinting that the processes of the cosmos mirror those within ourselves. In India, the yogic and tantric traditions describe a process remarkably similar to alchemy. The Kundalini energy, symbolized by a coiled serpent, must be raised through the energy centers of the body to achieve enlightenment, just as alchemists sought to refine base matter into its highest form. The ancient Taoists of China also pursued the creation of the golden elixir, a spiritual force cultivated within through meditation, breathwork, and internal alchemy. All of these traditions, though separated by time and geography, point to the same truth. The Philosopher's Stone is not a mere object. It is a state of being, the hidden meaning of transmutation. The common depiction of alchemists turning lead into gold is an allegory for something far more profound. Lead represents the unenlightened, unrefined self, the part of us weighed down by ignorance, fear, and limitation. Gold, in contrast, is the perfected self, radiant with wisdom, mastery, and spiritual liberation. The process of turning lead into gold mirrors the internal journey of self-purification, where one sheds the dense, impure aspects of their nature and awakens to their divine potential. This is why the Philosopher's Stone was also called the elixir of life, not because it granted physical immortality in the mundane sense, but because it symbolized the awakening of the eternal spirit within. Those who found the stone had not merely discovered a mystical substance, they had unlocked the highest potential of human existence. But how does one embark on this journey? How does the process of alchemical transmutation truly work? We will explore this in the next section, Core Explanation, Part 1. To understand the true nature of the Philosopher's Stone, we must first grasp the process of alchemical transmutation, a sacred journey that has been encoded in myths, religious texts, and mystical traditions for thousands of years. The alchemists called this process the magnum opus, or the great work. It is not a simple transformation but a profound evolution of the soul, achieved through three primary stages: Nigredo, blackening; Albedo, whitening; and Rubedo, reddening. Each stage represents a key phase in the journey of self-mastery. And just like the alchemists who worked in secrecy, those who walk this path must learn to see beyond appearances, to recognize that the real work is done not in a laboratory, but within the self. Stage 1, Nigredo, the descent into darkness. Every great transformation begins in the shadows. The first stage of the great work, Nigredo, is the phase of dissolution, death, and purification. It is symbolized by the color black, representing the breaking down of the false self, the destruction of illusions, limiting beliefs, and attachments that prevent true enlightenment. This stage is often painful. It is the dark night of the soul, a phase of deep introspection and suffering where the individual is stripped of everything they once believed about themselves. Just as raw metal must be melted down before it can be purified, the seeker must face their inner chaos, fears, and conditioning before any higher transformation can occur. In ancient myths, this stage is reflected in the stories of gods and heroes descending into the underworld. Osiris, Inanna, and Persephone all experienced symbolic deaths before their rebirths. In personal experience, this can manifest as a crisis, an existential breakdown, or a complete reevaluation of life. For those who persevere, Nigredo is not an end, but a beginning. It is the necessary destruction before rebirth, the preparation for something greater. Stage 2, Albedo, the purification of the soul. Once the impurities of the false self have been burned away, the seeker enters the second phase, Albedo, the whitening. This stage is symbolized by the color white, representing purification, clarity, and awakening. The chaos of Nigredo gives way to illumination, self-awareness, and the refinement of consciousness. At this stage, one begins to see reality more clearly, freed from the illusions of the ego. It is the process of self-discipline, meditation, and deep introspection, where the individual aligns themselves with higher wisdom. In alchemical symbolism, Albedo is often linked to the moon, signifying intuition, receptivity, and the balancing of opposites. This is also where the union of the inner masculine and feminine begins, the merging of rational thought with deep intuition, action with reflection, and light with shadow. It is said that at this stage, the soul begins to reconnect with its divine essence, no longer weighed down by illusion or impurity. But this is still not the final stage. The great work is incomplete until one reaches the ultimate transmutation, the creation of the Philosopher's Stone itself. Stage 3, Rubedo, the birth of the Philosopher's Stone. The final stage, Rubedo, is the crowning achievement of alchemy. It is represented by the color red, signifying the culmination of the process, the union of opposites, the realization of true wisdom, and the birth of the perfected self. In this phase, all the previous transformations coalesce into a single, unified state of enlightenment. The seeker no longer struggles between dualities. There is no longer light versus dark, self versus other, mind versus spirit. Instead, there is only wholeness, mastery, and spiritual sovereignty. This stage is often called the Phoenix Rising. The individual is no longer bound by the limitations of ordinary perception. They have unlocked their divine potential and become a living embodiment of the Philosopher's Stone itself. This is why the stone is also known as the elixir of life, not because it grants physical immortality, but because it signifies the awakening of the eternal, indestructible essence within. At this stage, the alchemist has completed their journey. They have transmuted their inner lead into gold, turning the dense, unrefined aspects of the self into something pure, radiant, and incorruptible. But what does this mean in practical terms? How does this process apply to real life? And how can one actively begin their own great work? We will explore this in the next section, Core Explanation, Part 2. Core Explanation, Part 2. Now that we have explored the three stages of the magnum opus, we must go deeper into what this transformation truly means, and why the Philosopher's Stone has remained one of the most closely guarded secrets in esoteric traditions. The key to understanding the stone lies in the mastery of energy, consciousness, and willpower. Alchemy is not just about internal transformation, it is about gaining the ability to shape reality itself. Those who complete the great work do not merely purify their souls, they awaken the hidden power within. But what exactly is this power? The Philosopher's Stone and the mastery of reality. At its core, the Philosopher's Stone represents the synthesis of opposites, the balance between the material and the spiritual, the mind and the heart, the conscious and the subconscious. It is the bridge between the mundane world and the divine. Those who attain it have transcended the illusion of separation and can harness the forces that govern reality itself. This is why the stone has been associated with immortality and infinite wealth. But these promises were never meant to be taken literally. True immortality is not about living forever in the flesh. It is about realizing that you are already eternal. True wealth is not about gold. It is about being in harmony with the flow of abundance and creation. The great alchemists understood that the material world is shaped by the subtle, unseen forces of consciousness. By mastering one's own energy, emotions, and mind, one can direct the forces of existence itself. This is the real secret of alchemy. The ability to manifest, to heal, to influence reality. All of these arise naturally when the alchemist has completed their inner transmutation. The role of willpower and intention. The Philosopher's Stone is not something that is found. It is something that is created within. And the key ingredient is willpower. The ancient Hermetic texts teach that the mind is the builder and the universe is its reflection. The journey of the alchemist is the journey of mastering this creative force. The more refined and focused the will, the more powerfully it shapes reality. This is why so many esoteric traditions emphasize concentration, meditation, and discipline, because scattered, unfocused energy cannot transmute anything. The difference between an ordinary person and an alchemist is this. An ordinary person is moved by external forces, emotions, circumstances, desires. An alchemist moves external forces through inner mastery. This is why the Philosopher's Stone is not just a symbol of enlightenment, it is a tool of creation. Those who possess it are not bound by fate, they become architects of their own existence. The secret meaning of the stone. Throughout history, the Philosopher's Stone has been associated with different symbols: gold, an elixir, a luminous red substance. But in truth, it is none of these. It is something far more profound. It is the awakening of the highest potential within you. This is why the stone is said to be hidden in plain sight. It is not something external. It is the unrealized power already within every human being. The only reason it remains hidden is because most people do not know how to look for it. But the path has always been there. The great work is not just a legend. It is a process that anyone can undertake. And those who do will discover that they, themselves, are the treasure they have been seeking. The next step, applying the great work. Now that we have uncovered the deeper meaning of the Philosopher's Stone, the question remains, how can one begin this process? How can you, today, take the first steps toward your own transformation? In the next section, we will explore practical applications, methods, and techniques for beginning the great work in everyday life. Practical application. Understanding the Philosopher's Stone is one thing, becoming it is another. The journey of inner alchemy is not merely a theory but a practice, requiring conscious effort, discipline, and transformation on every level of being. So how does one begin the great work? What are the practical steps to transmute the lead of ordinary consciousness into the gold of enlightenment? Below are 3 core practices that align with the stages of alchemical transmutation. 1. Nigredo, the art of dissolution, breaking down the false self. The first step in the great work is confronting your own darkness. This means bringing awareness to the hidden fears, limiting beliefs, and unconscious patterns that control your life. Techniques for Nigredo. Shadow work journaling. Write down your deepest fears, doubts, and emotional wounds. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What aspects of myself do I reject? The more honestly you face these questions, the more power you reclaim. Meditation on the void. Sit in silence, focusing on the stillness within. This is the space where all attachments, identities, and illusions dissolve. The goal is not to quiet the mind, but to observe its chaos without resistance. Fasting and purification practices. Physical purification often aids mental and spiritual purification. Short fasts, detoxifying diets, or even abstaining from distractions, social media, entertainment, etc., can accelerate the Nigredo process. The purpose of Nigredo is death before rebirth, to strip away everything false so that something greater can emerge. 2. Albedo, purifying and illuminating the mind. Once the impurities of the false self begin to dissolve, the next stage is refinement, bringing clarity, discipline, and alignment into your life. Techniques for Albedo: inner silence and contemplation. Instead of filling the mind with endless information, allow space for intuitive insights to arise. Great wisdom is not found in noise but in stillness. The union of opposites. Begin integrating logic and intuition, masculine and feminine energies, action and reflection in daily life. Recognizing and balancing these opposites leads to harmony. The power of purity. In Albedo, purity is key, not just physical purity, but purity of thought, emotion, and intention. Every action should be done with awareness and purpose. This stage is about moving from a chaotic existence to one of conscious creation. This is the stage where the individual starts to see reality more clearly, where illusion fades and truth becomes self-evident. 3. Rubedo, the integration of power and will. The final stage is about mastery, not just knowing but becoming. The seeker, now purified, must begin applying their inner power to shape reality. Techniques for Rubedo: manifestation through intentional action. Now that the mind is purified, what you intend begins to manifest more rapidly. Practice setting clear intentions each day and observing how your reality shifts. Living as the creator. In this stage, you are no longer simply learning spirituality, you embody it. Every thought, word, and action becomes a conscious act of creation. Breathwork and energy control. Advanced spiritual practitioners use breath to harness life force energy, prana, chi, or pneuma. Techniques such as Kundalini breathwork, qigong, and controlled deep breathing enhance spiritual power. In Rubedo, the Philosopher's Stone is fully realized. The alchemist has transformed themselves and, in doing so, has gained mastery over their own existence. The final secret: you are the Philosopher's Stone. The greatest mystery of alchemy is that the Philosopher's Stone is not something external. It is the awakening of the divine within. Every step you take in purifying the mind, refining the spirit, and mastering your will is a step toward creating the stone within yourself. The ancient alchemists disguised their teachings behind symbols and riddles, but the truth has always been hidden in plain sight. You are the gold. You are the elixir. You are the divine fire that transforms reality. The question is, are you ready to begin the work? Conclusion: we have journeyed through the mysteries of the Philosopher's Stone, from its ancient origins to its true spiritual meaning, and finally, to the practical steps one can take to embody its power. Now, the path is before you. The great work is not for the faint-hearted, but for those who dare to look within, dissolve the false, and emerge reborn. If you are ready to take the first step, start today. Begin with self-awareness, discipline, and unwavering intent. Turn your lead into gold, because the real secret is this: the Philosopher's Stone is already within you.